Welcome back to Yahoo Finance Live. Shares of Apple trading pretty flat, up about 0.1% in the session today. The company earlier announcing a new fee structure for their app store, specifically the commission the company takes, slashing that in half. Right now it's 30%, cutting that to 15% for the smaller developers who make less than $1 million in sales. And Zack, this is obviously a response to the pressure that Apple has faced for what a lot of lawmakers have said is anti-competitive behavior by them taking that 30% cut in the App Store. But you have to wonder, in the context of these discussions about whether tech should be reined in a big way. I mean, this is just one example of a company that's responding even without any kind of regulatory crackdown.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder how much of it is just because they want to get out ahead of what crackdown might come, because that's something we've seen tech companies do before, is kind of this idea of, oh, we'll self-regulate. Hopefully that's going to appease the regulators and we'll get away with that. Because keep in mind, this won't affect the split fees paid by some of the bigger companies. If you look at a Spotify or a Netflix or other companies like that are above that $1 million threshold you're talking about. But yeah, it is interesting because in the eyes of the regulators, what they're all talking about is protecting some of those smaller businesses from the undue pressure of what could be a monopoly and a tech giant putting pressure on some of the smaller guys. And so this would at least address some of those concerns in smaller businesses, those doing below $1 million in revenue. But you're right, it does still add the question of if regulators are going to be pleased with this step, or perhaps maybe come out on the other side and say, look, it's not going far enough.
It does make me think about what we hear a lot in Silicon Valley in the context of what happened with Microsoft, which is that the trial is the remedy, that even if there is no real breakup of any of these tech companies, the applied pressure, both from lawmakers and publicly, will ultimately rein in some kind of anti-competitive behavior that some allege these companies have been engaged in. And, look, Apple will probably say this, no, this is just a long time coming. This is something we've been considering. But you do have to wonder if that pressure has been building up for the company. 15% certainly, that's a pretty significant one. If you look at some of these smaller developers who are looking to get real estate within the App Store to try and build out their sales.
And let's not forget, too, a lot of that pressure, too, came before the hearing that we saw Tim Cook at from Basecamp, the CEO there, talking about all this. Their app was taken off the App Store because of questions he was raising around that front. Some of it got resolved, but even he was out tweeting today saying, look, this doesn't go far enough to address the monopoly power that Apple wields over developers and the pressure that they still have in saying, look, we need us, you got to pay us first before you can get access. I think that's a big question that still remains to be solved moving forward.